to NEK-TV Rocks, and my guest today is Laurie Pomeranz Grimm, and you are running for council.
Oh, I am.
Yeah. So what got you to do that?
Well, you know, I've been in Newport for about 17 and a half years. And I started getting involved when I noticed one day, kind of through a series of events, that things were happening in Newport. Started listening, paying attention. The Newport Renaissance Committee was starting about that time with Trish Sears. And I started noticing things. And I noticed that the sign to JP was taking people off the interstate in Orleans. And I wondered out loud to my husband one day, why is that? Why are they taking people through, you know, Route 5 to Route 14? They don't totally miss downtown Newport. What is the reason? So I called Trish and said, why is that? We had a really nice conversation. She explained some things to me. There's a whole bigger picture of that. You can't make changes in any of that stuff without a small act of Congress going to transportation. And unfortunately, even when they redid all of the state signs several years ago, they also didn't change it. But, you know, that anyway, I think that's kind of where it started, really.
So what you learned was that you could have a bright idea, you could find places to talk about it, and sometimes change would really happen.
Yep. And then I got involved in one of the first, well, at that time, big committees. You were here, I believe.
I
was. The group came from all the architects and people in the area, and they came, wrote a beautiful report, did an excellent week-long study, had some really great meetings. And out of that, a couple of things happened. We, with the assistance of Barb Morrow, who was with the Restorative Justice Center, we started Community Commons. She started Community Commons. I came on board to work with that. I think we went for about 4 years with that. And it was really a great time. A lot of conversation about what was then, you know,
Community Commons, to sort of fill in a background piece here, it was a group for regular people, us, to come together and talk about change, talk about what we wanted to see. So what you're suggesting is that something like that can continue in some form.
Well, and actually, we have a Facebook group that has continued. You know, we just can talk about things, put local information. But I think that's the important thing, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like it's important to be on the council now, is that there's a lot of change going on. We've been going through change, but I think there's not been such great ways of doing this stuff over the last several years. We've run into some stalemates and some roadblocks, but we have a new mayor who is out there doing what she can do, working very hard. And I think what's important is we have to get to the point of actually listening to everybody, having conversations. We've had a lot of community conversations, a lot of study committees in the last 15 years.
We have.
And I don't necessarily discount any of that. We do need to move Newport forward, and there's no reason why we can't take some of those ideas, get people back together, start talking again, look at the things that are going on, and really, you know, move it forward.
What do you think would move us forward? And in what direction? There's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question. I think we're, you know, unfortunately, we are a more, I don't like this word, depressed area economically. I think we're missing the boat on some manufacturing. I think we're missing the boat on business. I don't really understand why. I listened to an article this morning that said that state agencies have worked to try to get businesses to come here. I don't know what they've done. I know that one thing I have heard over the last several years is that we've missed a whole economic boat by not looking at what the Canadians across the border can bring to the area. So I think we've got to do a better job of marketing Newport.
We have a lot to market here.
We do. And the Newport City Downtown Development Group is doing a phenomenal job moving that forward. And I think that those are the things I want to see. I want to see what's out there for business. I want to support our town. you know, we have issues. We've got to take care of them. We can't do anything about the fixed costs of our budgets. We can't.
No.
But what can we do to increase our tax base?
Right.
And that's what we need to look at. So.
Yeah. What skills do you bring to the council?
Oh.
Would you bring? Yeah.
Well, I'm a people person, so personally, I enjoy talking to people. I will talk to just about anybody, and listen. I'm a good listener. I care about people. I do not necessarily agree with everyone I meet. But
Really?
Yeah, Pam and I know that. But we work very well together because we have a common goal,
Right.
and that's the point. I have a political science background is my degree from college, but my mother always said I never let college interfere with my education. And so I went to school to learn, and I continue to do that. I'm currently working on a project with my employer that I've been on for 4.5 years, and every day it's something new. And if I'm not willing to learn, so that's a big thing. I have experience in business and finance and insurance and elder care and health care in different aspects of all of those things. And so that's what I think that just my experience and my ability to work with people of all different types across the board is good, and that's what I want to bring.
So you would be bringing some business skills to the council.
I hope so.
And as we move forward, hopefully bringing more businesses into Newport, you would be able to explain some of the high-tech presentations, to put it mildly, that we've had over the years. Because sometimes it's been hard to understand the business part of that. So you would be a real-life person who could actually do that piece.
Well, I've been told that I can communicate in a way that takes really complicated ideas and breaks it down. And I've had to do that in different parts of my life.
Sure.
Writing standard operating procedures for the last couple of years in the project. How does this actually work? How does this translate into everyday ideas?
Right.
And so that's you know, and I know how to ask questions. Now, sometimes they might seem like stupid questions, but my recent example is the city council meeting where our terrific fire department came and introduced the Jaws of Life. New piece of equipment that we're getting, fantastic piece of equipment.
Sure.
And then they use the word battery operated.
Right.
Now, we all think of little tiny batteries. Now, I recognize these are very different batteries, but no one else in the room said, what about the batteries? We all know how cell phone batteries work. We all know how other things work. And they turned around and explained it beautifully to me. And that's exactly what I was looking for.
It was a good question, particularly as up here we know with all electric vehicles that we sometimes have starting problems in winter up here.
It's difficult. And that's what I want to listen. I want to ask questions. Even if somebody thinks that it's a strange question or an off question, because I'm looking for the best thing for Newport. That's what I think. What is going to fit here? What is going to be possible? You know, maybe it's something we didn't think about. Maybe it's something we've looked at in the past and discounted, and maybe it's time to go back to it. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. But that's my goal, is to really see and be a part of that.
What do you think Newport's biggest challenges are?
Housing. And business, really. You know, that's huge. And I don't know specifically that a member of city council can do a whole lot about that. I know one thing that we can do, you know, is look at our budgets, as I said before, and really see. I do believe, you know, we've just passed, or not passed, the council has approved for vote this year's for the budget. With a 15% increase. We don't know what that rate's going to look like yet, really, across, I mean, we do for that. Water and sewer is a huge conversation. And when you put all that stuff together, people are just concerned about how they're going to pay their property taxes. I mean, I'm right there. I am right there. And I don't like it more than the next person. But we need to look at what's happening and why. And I think that, you know, there have been conversations over the years about how the budgets were shifted around, and this was put here and that was put there. And thankfully, in the fall, and you know, I think November or December, the mayor suggested that we do a time study to look at the administrative offices and how their time is being pulled in or out of the water and sewer budget, which we know is what they call an enterprise fund. We pay for what we use. We have to pay for what we use, you know. And so the attitude of actually having people keep track of their time and say, yeah, I spent, you know, an hour today.
Sure.
I spent 2 hours today.
Yeah.
Some people I've talked to about that say, that's almost impossible. Well, I work for a company who we are required to keep track.
You have to do it.
I don't have to keep every second.
No.
But I do have a calendar that has color-coded stuff, so I know that at the end of the week, when I report my time for that week, that I can put it in different slots. And so it can be done. It can be done. And I think we have to look at those things.
Yes.
So,
you know, as a citizen, when I see the city budget, it's sort of overwhelming. I mean, I'm not a math whiz. It's not my favorite subject ever, and never will be. But I would like to see a budget in a basically understandable form.
Yes.
And to know that I can ask a question for clarification and that somebody can give me a straight answer.
Right. Yeah.
Is that something you feel would be important?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've struggled with the city budget over the last couple of years, just looking at it. You know, the whole idea of all of the salaries, administrative costs for salaries in one lump sum makes it really difficult for the average person to know, what are we paying these people?
Right.
They are public servants. They are employees of the city. Their salaries are not private.
Right.
Just like with schools. My husband was a school teacher for 41 years. His salary was never private. Anybody could open up the book and see what they make. Private companies are different, and so you don't have that. But with the city, we need to know, and we need to know what they're doing, you know, what part of the budget they're paying for.
Right.
As I said before, the fixed costs are different. We have to pay attention to those things. But yes, I totally agree that it's got to be a little easier to know what we're spending.
So we have housing, fiscal accountability, or however you want.
Right.
What else? What else is really important for the city?
I think that we do have some difficulty with drug use and those kind of things. I am not an expert. I do not have the right to speak to any of that.
Yeah.
But I know that our police chief is looking at the possibility of hiring another officer. I don't have a problem with that. I know that portions of some of their budgets are being paid for by grants.
Sure.
And I think we need it. I think we need it. I do not have any experience in how to even begin to solve these issues, but it's important to know.
Right.
So I think that's one of the things we've got to look at. Our hospital is great. From my personal opinion, I did work there for a number of years.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, everyone has their own opinion about how things work, but we need to build up the support of the hospital, and they've been struggling for a few years.
Right.
So,
and we certainly, as citizens, need access to health care.
Absolutely. Can you just imagine, Pam, if all of a sudden one day someone came along and said, we don't have a hospital anymore?
Well, unfortunately, I can imagine that, because as I watch the hospital sort of losing people to St. J, which is being built up, I think that's not okay.
Yeah.
And I would really hope that that's something that the council and the mayor are focusing on, and saying, what can we do to build up our hospital here?
Yeah. We do need that. We need the doctor's support. Not everybody can get to St. Johnsbury
No.
for an emergency. I cannot even imagine not having some sort of trauma care here,
Right.
emergency room care here.
Right.
We would lose a huge
But for
asset.
any specialist care,
Yes,
having
that's
to
care.
trek over Sheffield Heights
yes.
in all weathers, even if you have the ability to drive, but a lot of people don't have
Difficult.
the ability to
That's right.
drive, and then
That's
we're
right.
totally
Yeah.
stuck.
We do. That is another issue, and that piece is difficult. The Rural Community Transportation (RCT) I think does the best job that they can.
Yes.
I wish there was some different ways to use that service to benefit our citizens. I have friends who don't drive. They live downtown, and on a bitterly cold day, it's very difficult to get to the grocery store, even though, they may live on this side of town and the grocery store's over here, and it's really
Right.
only basically a short, maybe mile walk.
Sure.
But it's difficult for them if they have young
Right.
children. Access to food can be difficult, and when you're going, this is nothing against our convenience stores
Right.
and lower cost stores, but that food is not the best that they can get.
Right.
And if we could open up even a way for our maple fields or something on this end of town to be able to offer fruits and vegetables on a regular basis, those kind of things.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but I'm just saying.
Personally, I'd like public transportation
Well,
as
right.
as
Well,
an option,
some sort of
but-
public transportation.
Yeah.
Our taxi. We don't have Uber. We don't
No,
have
we don't.
Lyft. We don't have some of those things. So yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's. I don't know what the council can do about those things except to support them and to come alongside people, things like RCT.
Yeah, I mean, the council I know has a lot of different things to do, and
Right.
sort of the more I look at it, and I'm sure the more you're looking at it, you look at how it's a hard job.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us in the peanut gallery to say, you all should be
that.
doing X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z, but it doesn't work like that.
Right. That's right.
But you do have a position of power in the sense that you have the ability to hear us, the people,
Right.
and you can speak truth to wherever else it needs to go,
Right.
and notice what it is that community, citizens need.
Right. Well, I think that's what Mayor Sullivan is doing with her position now with the airport.
Yeah.
She's talking to people with the state house. She's on the state housing board.
Right.
She, that right there to me is huge for
Yes,
our area.
it
It's
is.
huge. We know that they've been here to have discussions. We know that just those contacts in a positive way can help us.
Right.
So that's what I hope for.
I mean, bringing visibility to Newport in a very
Right.
positive way. It's gorgeous here.
It is. It is. And there's a lot going on. And I applaud the Newport City Downtown Development for the way that they've come back in the
Yeah.
last year or so.
Yeah.
The things that they offer. The one story that I always tell that really saddens me is the doctors who come and in this case, honestly, it was male doctors who have moved here, specialists.
Right.
And the wives say, there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to shop. So we want to move to Burlington, and you just go there and rent an apartment for 3 or 4 days and then come back. And people miss the point.
Right.
I came to Newport, moved to Vermont 33 years ago, and the important thing was find out where you live.
Right.
Don't just sit in your house all day. I moved to Newport, did the exact same thing.
Right.
Find out where you live, get involved. There's all manner of things here in Newport and in the whole region.
Right.
And if you will look, there are social events, arts events, just a crazy
Volunteer
number of
opportunities.
Volunteer opportunities in
Yeah.
lots of different places. But you have to get up and look for it.
Right.
So
Yeah, it is sometimes harder in a rural area, not to actually get involved, but to find out where to get
Yes.
involved.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe the chamber is a place to go. Could be
They're always looking for
built up,
volunteers.
right? And not only does the chamber need volunteers, but I think they maybe just a suggestion off the top of my head. Maybe they could become a regional source or a community source for groups who are looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
You know, because we really don't have that. For the longest time, you know, we now have calendars. I think NEK-TV does calendars, and I just saw today online on Facebook on one group that had some calendars out. Might have been the Downtown Development Group, but you know, that's the kind of thing we've got to be resourceful.
Right.
We got to change the way we're looking at things. We've got to imagine things differently. And to move it forward. That's what we've got to do.
Part of what you want to do on the council is be a voice for imagining.
Yeah, I do, and it's important that the council have discussion amongst itself. You know, Anne made that statement. Anne Shirley made that statement at the council meeting a few weeks back, that she really missed the conversations. And as I thought about that, she's right.
There used to be conversations.
Right. And they don't need to be afraid anymore. And they do not need to be afraid anymore of having conversation amongst themselves. Something was presented at one of the council meetings about something in the budget. And I won't go to it because it was not passed. It wasn't considered. But it was like, okay, do we need this? That was such a breath of fresh air. I didn't happen to agree with the should we keep this or not. Yeah. But I sat there and I thought, wow, that council member actually said out loud, should we think about cutting this out of the budget?
Right.
That's the first time in years I think I've heard anybody say anything like that. And it really makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
Happen.
Yeah,
it really did. And somehow we lost that over the last few years. And COVID didn't help.
No, it did not.
But now that we're back out there in the real world, conversations would be wonderful.
Yep. I think so. I definitely think so. And I'm not suggesting that we restart a community commons as it was.
Right.
But you know, hey, it was a once a month meeting where anybody could show up.
Right.
And sometimes we had specific topics, and sometimes we just was a free for all. And oh my gosh, the things that happened. I mean, I think Journey to Recovery was one of the things that there was the start of some conversations that pulled in other people who were already having the conversations. And we were in a meeting, and things started happening. And look where it is now.
It's fabulous.
Look where it is now.
That is such a fabulous program. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
And it had to struggle to get there and evolve.
Yes.
But it did. And you're right, that was a conversation that started there.
Right.
That was a community-based conversation.
Absolutely.
And it was discussed as well at council. I mean, it's really important to have the two-way flow.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
One of the issues that has come up recently has been about what is leadership at the council. Is this city manager led, or is this council mayor led?
Yeah.
Mayor and council led. Where are you with that?
Well, I have read the charter, and I'm still reading the charter. And there are two places in the charter.
Yeah.
I don't have it here, so I cannot say chapter and verse. But I want people to understand that the city has a charter, and sometimes people refer to the Vermont state statute. So in the Vermont state statutes, there is a whole section on municipal charters, and it is nothing more than a copy of what is in the city charter.
Okay.
So those two things are exactly the same. I want to make that really clear because some people have tried to separate those, and that is not. There is a section in the city charter that states that the city council may hire a city manager to be the administrative head of the city. Now, some people that we know stop the sentence there, but the rest of the sentence actually says, and this person shall serve at the will of the council, at the pleasure of the council. That's a very important statement, because first of all, the may is they can or can't, they can or they don't have to, and the administrative head, that's another important word, and that a person serves at the will of the council. So the will or the pleasure of the council means if they're doing something that the council finds is not correct, they can ask that person to step down. back it up a little bit. Administrative head. What is an administrative head? Now, in my book, in business, an administrative head is someone who handles the day-to-day in and out operations.
Sure.
Okay. So there's that piece. Now, in another section of the charter, which is kind of obscure, even though it's a long section, because it was titled something really weird, and so I failed to read it a couple of times as I'm brushing through. I went back and read it, and it says very clearly in the first line, the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city.
Right.
And with the selectmen make up the council.
Right.
Something along those lines. So I put those two things together and said to myself, if the mayor is the chief executive officer, along with the council
Right.
to do the city stuff, and the city manager is the administrative head, well, anyone with any business knowledge knows that in that case, the city manager would answer to the chief executive
Right.
officer.
Right.
And so I believe that unfortunately, for a very long time, we've had city managers, maybe, who, one, I understand, would say, well, this is how I think, but you guys are the last ones to make the decision.
Right.
And I think that's pretty appropriate.
Okay.
But we've had one who said, this is what I think. And unfortunately, I think there was, I'm going to use this word, a little intimidation. And so they just all said, okay. And when there were differences, it was thought to be that the city manager was the ultimate authority.
Right.
And that is not the case if you read the charter.
Right.
And to change the charter literally takes an act of the state legislature to
Right.
do so. So it is not something that we do overnight, and it doesn't matter what people think from the past. I know that Mayor Sullivan is looking at it specifically for the charter
Right.
and what the charter says, and she's going to run it that way. And the city, whether I become a select member,
A council member,
a
yeah.
council member, it is important for us to know what that charter says. One person
is.
said to me, whatever you do, read the charter and know it backwards
And
and
the
forwards.
piece that's important for us as citizens is we elect you as our representatives.
That's right.
And that's important
Yeah.
because you are speaking for us with our permission,
Yeah.
and our lives depend on that. So I'm glad to know that your view of the council is that those we elect are those who lead
Right.
this town and who are answerable to us. And that's
right.
really important as a differentiation.
It's very important, and you know, as I've said many times, we are not all the same. We are not all going
Right.
to agree on every point.
Of course not.
Even at the end of the day, what I have agreed to might not be something that my best friend would agree to.
okay.
But it's okay.
Right.
We have to navigate those things, and look at what is best for our city.
So in the last couple of minutes, what do you really want people to know about you? If you had 5 points or 3 points or...
I care. I want to listen to you. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to do the hard work that it's going to take to know when I walk in there for council meetings or when I'm on the street that I have an answer for someone. Or this is really key. I grew up saying, you know, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to find out for you. And to many, many people, that is the most important thing.
Right.
And that's what I'm willing to do. I want to search for the right answers and make sure that I understand the differences, that I understand those kind of things. And so that's, I'm willing to listen. I have very strong held personal beliefs, but I want people to know that I am always willing to sit down, especially when it comes to our city, and really figure out
Right.
what's best.
So those are your personal attributes.
Yes.
What are your skills? Again, 1, 2, 3. Isn't this
I
horrible?
I read. It is very difficult.
Yes,
I read.
I know.
I can understand finance. You know,
that's important.
I just am. It's really just a willingness to understand.
Right.
And so that's my skill. I wanna work with people and get it going.
And you've run your own household. You're
Yeah.
a full-time person working. You've raised kids. You've been around the block.
A few times.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I want people to know. I'm willing to make the hard choices. You know, we have some issues coming up.
Yes, we do.
And we may be unfortunately having to make some pretty not so easy choices to make. And I don't want to see taxes go up any more than anybody else does.
That's good.
But I can't guarantee that that's not going to happen, because we've got a big problem with our water department right now, and people, it needs to be, we need to be as transparent as possible about that. And I'm only getting this information from going to city council meeting.
Right.
And I would invite anybody to do that. What did I grow up hearing? If you aren't interested enough to pay attention and go and learn, then you don't have a right to say things.
Right.
And so that's important.
Well, thank you for coming in. I'm really glad you're running for council. I admire anybody who's willing to do that. It's a hard job.
Yes.
It really is.
It is. It is.
And you obviously have been to enough council meetings to be fully aware of that.
I am. I'm a little scared. Let's just put it right out there. I'm a little scared.
That's okay.
But I'm not scared. I'm not scared of the work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to be there to please everybody.
No.
And you know, that can be on me sometimes, because I wear all my emotions on my sleeve, just so people are aware. I'm working on that. But yeah. So
well, that's part of transparency, that sleeve.
Yeah, yes.
Anyway, thank you for coming in, and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate that.